Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Good, man. It's good. It's a good time of year. Hockey's about to start. Football's on. The weather's changing. It's good
Yeah,
stuff. I do like this time of year. I'm hoping to start wearing sweaters more. Good stuff. And we're here to talk about some comics here today. It's always a good time. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, everybody. This is our weekly new comic book review show here. And we talk about the comics that we read week to week, show off some of the art, tell you what we think about it. Sometimes talk about some comic news. We got a piece of news today to discuss.
big news. Yeah.
We tell you what we're looking forward to picking up in the future on the show, and we go through comics list stations, all kinds of great stuff. So make sure you like and subscribe and watch the show here. We got a whole playlist, 148 of these here. We're close to 150, Chris. We got to do something special, I think, when it gets to 150.
Let's see.
And today we're going to be talking about new comics that came out for the week of October 2nd, 2024. And as I mentioned, we are going to be showing off the art and talking about what happens in the books to properly discuss them. So we might spoil some stuff. So be forewarned. All right, Chris.
All right, let's talk comics.
Talk some comics. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it. We recorded today. I don't think I would have been able to drink that beer yesterday. I would have made myself sick. Or what do they call it? Hair of the dog. I mean, I really should have just got back to it.
That's it.
All right, Chris. Absolute Power number 4, the conclusion of this mini series here. Mark Waid, Dan Mora. What'd you think of this?
I don't know. I got a lot of questions about this book here. Like, how did everything happen so freaking quickly?
Yeah.
Like the stuff with like Failsafe. I don't even know how Failsafe was defeated. I just thought I saw a panel where he's like, "Oh, power going down to 0," and that was it for that. And these Amazos, what are they? They freaking rewind them back in time before they sucked everybody's powers, and that's how they. I don't know. I don't think this thing stuck a landing at all. 100%. This was a brutal ending. It just seemed rushed quickly, and and for an event that was so big, I was thinking there'd be some other players in the game. I thought Darkseid was going to come in at the end and kind of mess things up, or they could have had Failsafe and Amanda Waller and like Brainiac have some sort of power struggle. But basically, she ends up freaking, or Dreamer comes back out of nowhere and just messes up Amanda Waller, and that's it. I guess there's a few kind of splash scenes there. I did like the stuff with Flash and what's that? The Green Lantern.
The Nightwing moments. I know you like that.
Yeah, well, they're trying to close off the multiverse, and I guess that's one of the big takeaways from this is now the multiverse it sort of isn't in play anymore. Which, if that's what this whole thing was about, to close the multiverse, they could have just said, "Hey, we're closing the multiverse," and that was it, and nobody would have freaking batted an eye. You don't need to explain it out and do all this whole mess to make it make sense. But I don't know. What did you think about this?
No, I'm actually agreeing with a lot of what you're saying here. I thought you may have felt differently about this. I didn't think it was terrible, but I also don't think. Here's the thing. It's not that they only just didn't stick the landing, in my opinion. All they did was just fold this right into the next thing we're going to talk about here in a moment. And as DC tends to do, one event leads into another in terms of the direction of the DC universe. So I felt like it kind of made this inconsequential. Like this really didn't matter.
Yeah.
It seemed like at the end of the day. Yeah. So like I was a little disappointed in that fact because like you said, like I thought this series started off really strong. I mean, this is a good team. You got Mark Waid here, and obviously this is going to make way, which is what's going to lead into their Justice League, him and Dan Mora. I thought the book looked great and had some good moments along the way, but I don't know if this is like the case of like a lot of the other things happen in other books, which we know they were, but I feel like it maybe affected this title as a result. Maybe it's a little bit of that, but even I don't even know how much of it is that either. It kind of, like you said, it was like a quick wrap up. I don't say this normally, but I feel like this could have used another issue or two, to be honest with you, because like, I think they could have really fleshed this out a little bit more, maybe even one more issue where it didn't feel so rushed here at the end. And I'm not for usually like these 8-issue events or whatever, because then it goes on too long. But Yeah, I think they could have used even one more issue here. I mean, 4, like you said, they did seem to wrap up pretty quick. I think the Mazo thing, Chris, was like something with Green Arrow. Like he shot like an arrow at something, and like he was able to like reverse, do something with the Amazos. Like they
Yeah,
basically all went offline or something like that. Yeah, I'm not 100% clear either. Maybe I
yeah. I
just
just like this whole issue just felt like they're explaining everything out, how everything worked. Because now, wasn't there like a few pages about how Oliver Queen was like a double agent, like the Manchurian Candidate. He got
yes,
what's his name, the Martian Manhunter, to
Martian
rape his
Manhunter.
mind,
Yeah.
and then I don't know. I guess all the in talk between him with Martian Manhunter. Yeah, he could have told his buddy. And he's like, well, I didn't expect to get captured so quickly.
I actually like that scene a lot because the guy that gave him shit the most was Batman. He's like, "Really, you like,
Yeah,
like you're gonna tell me I should have kept something from the team?" And he just like like grimaced at him. He's like, because it's true. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna say Batman, like one of the best Justice League stories that I've ever read is actually written by Mark Waid years ago after Morrison's Justice League run.
yeah,
Is about the Tower of Babel, and that's the story where they did an animated movie on. Chris, I don't know if you've seen that or read that story, where it's like Batman has files on all of the Justice League and how to take them down, and somebody gets a hold of this and is able to systematically take out all his teammates as a result of this information leaking, and then they're all kind of taken aback and by the fact that Batman already has it in his mind. If he ever has to take out his teammates, this is how you do it, right? And that kind of opened up a whole can of worms that eventually led to him having to leave the team or whatever, I think, at the end of that story. So like, yeah, this is so like the fact that they kind of touched on that, I felt like, because Wade also wrote that story. I thought that was more so in line. I'm sure that's why he threw that in there, because he's like, really, you're telling me about keeping secrets from the team, right? So so I kind of liked that moment quite a bit, but otherwise it was just okay. I don't know. I'm
yeah,
with you. And then, I get why they would release both these things on the same day, but you see this end, and then we go right into the all in special #1. And
yeah.
it just felt like not even, and like, this doesn't matter as a result of all that. Like you said, it was just getting you from point A to point B so they can set up the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So, nah.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
feel bad for you if you read them in the wrong order too.
Yeah. Well, I knew enough to do that. I was like, there, you're right. I almost did read the other one first, but I'm like, no, no, no. This is definitely going to lead into this. So I was
Yeah,
like, this is the new direction, right? So, anyway, so what'd you give this then?
there are some good moments in it. I'll give it a 3.75. Like the art's
Oh,
good,
interesting.
story was okay. It felt flat at the end for me.
I think I was gonna give it a 3.5. I did like some of the moments in here, and I'm with you that it wasn't great. This is probably the weakest issue out of the whole series. I'm with you that it didn't truly stick the landing. But is it terrible? No, I think it's fine, but it's not like it's not going to stand the test of time where I'm like, what was a great event? Absolute power. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I don't see myself saying that. This is just going to be a footnote in terms of like I hope what happens with this now is Mark Waid and Dan Mora go on to do like a really good Justice League run, because it's never so more evident than in this, where this whole thing with the Titans and the Nightwing stuff, it's just like that never stuck. No one thought they were a good team. Like we
yeah,
haven't had Justice League for like a year. Like let's get back to Justice League now, right? Like I'm actually really looking forward to what they do with Justice League. And I like the idea that they're forming this big team, which we're going to talk about here in a moment here. All in special #1 is the next one up here. I got this nice Wes Craig cover. It's kind of cool. It's a connecting cover. And because it's a flip book, it's kind of cool. I like that concept a lot. Wes Craig drew this whole thing. Of course, I'm a big fan of his, and he kind of did both sides of the coin of the characters that we see in each one. You kind of flip it. And I kind of liked the way that they went about the kind of flip book style, where
yeah,
you read one story and then you flip it around, you read the next story. I kind of like that gimmick whenever they do that. I'm a big fan of that myself. What'd you think of that?
yeah. I just got the DA cover, so a little different than the one you have there, but same idea. A
Yeah.
little flip book on the side. Nothing wrong with that.
No,
And then once again, this is when we wanted to read in the proper order too. At least I prefer to read the Justice League story first,
same.
then the Dark Side or the Dark Side
Yep.
story after.
Yep.
And once again, like this is all just freaking, I don't know, paperwork for DC, just trying to get, trying to hype this new All In. It seems, it's great art. The story's decent, nothing wrong with anything, but it's crazy what happens in here. Like the way things go on. I mean, it's nice that everybody's got the whatever everybody's part of the Justice League now. You're telling me they build that watchtower out of nowhere and nobody notices a new space station, like not even just a small one, a giant one floating out there. I know they all got everybody has their money that they're putting together, but wasn't Batman just broke a little while ago? I'm sure Oliver Queen's been
Well,
under duress.
they explained how he got his money back though in Batman. You remember that? Like he got money
Yeah, I
back.
know he's got his money back, but not enough. That's enough money to build a freaking space station. Got to
Yeah.
access that money. But anyways, and I like the stuff with Booster Gold. Like it's
Uh,
all good stuff, but I don't know, it just didn't hit the mark for me. Then finally, Darkseid appears out of nowhere here, and you're expecting some big battle, and I'm under the impression that Darkseid is like the biggest bad of the bads, and they freaking kill him in 5 pages, 10 panels. How does that work? But and once again, it just seems to try and explain this new absolute universe, and then I don't know, it spins over to the other side. You get that dark side story, and that was a bit more interesting. At least they kind of explain what's been going on with him, and how all these events have affected him. But it would have been better if they hadn't go down to Earth and try and take out the superheroes and maybe Amanda Waller. Have a little three-way action, and then they could have had this event go on afterwards. But yeah, that's about all I think about that. The Wes Craigers art was great. The other side was great. How it turns into this, whatever happens at the end, they have their legion, but how that works into the absolute universes that this was supposed to be hyping, from what I understand. It's hard for me to pick that up out of there.
I liked this quite a bit. Is also the fact, like you mentioned, Wes Craig drew that other story in this, and I guess he's been working up to this because obviously he's off doing his book Kea there for Image, but he had time. They're coming out with like a lot of variant covers of his, and he had time, I guess, to do this story for DC. So I think it's really cool that he was able to take part in this despite him doing comic now. But he was, this is a book that's gonna have a lot of eyes on it. And like I just think he's a great artist and very different style than what you're used to kind of seeing. And I think the fact that you got Mora on the first story, who's kind of like the new classic kind of like DC style artist, and then you got Wes Craig on the other side with the Dark Side story, and he's kind of got like a Kirby-esque kind of style to his art. I thought it worked perfectly, actually. I think it was really smart of them to do it that way. And so that's a big part of why I enjoyed this. But I did feel like, because Snyder came back and he wrote this with Williamson, and Snyder likewise has not written for DC for a while. Like he's been doing his own creator own thing as well. And he did a run on Justice League, and unfortunately at times this kind of felt like he's back like doing that kind of style, because like everything is big picture, like big idea, like kind of thing. And it's cool what they're setting up, but I just hope that like it's not like Snyder's Justice League went, like where ultimately it felt like it didn't matter in the end. Like again, just all these big ideas that you're coming up with, and then it just leads to an event that fails, and then you're like left holding, and it just folds into the next
Yeah,
thing,
just
right?
no substance to them. I know what you mean. It's like that movie did. Was that the what was that one with all the girls there? Geez, I forgot what that one was called. But it was like those 5 girls that they were in the insane asylum, and and every time they kind of were getting abused, they go into their own sort of fantasy world. Sucker Punch, I think it was.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like, yeah, great scenes there, but in the end, like that movie was just wacky out right out the side. But like every kind of little fantasy of the world they went to is, it was like just kind of very cinematic, but just no story to it.
Yeah, that's Zack Snyder did that film, the guy who went on to do DC's,
Yeah,
Batman versus Superman and Justice League. Yeah, that's who did that film.
but then he
That's
does something like 300 though, right? That was Zack Snyder too, right?
I believe so. I think that's him. Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah, it certainly seems like he did Watchmen. You know what I mean? Like he did a lot.
But he didn't watch it too. Zack Snyder wrote that.
He
Wow.
directed it. He directed it, I
Okay,
believe.
he didn't write.
Yeah.
He didn't write it though.
I don't he didn't I don't think he wrote the screenplay for the film. I would have to look that up. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, this thing with the Spectre was kind of interesting, I thought. Yeah, I don't know. I had some good moments. It did get me a little bit more interested in the new direction, more so than the ending of Absolute Power did. So I'll give you that. But I'll say that much. I mean, but definitely the Wes Craig art was a nice treat. I think I don't know if I would have liked this as much if it wasn't him on the other side of the book. But I do like the idea too that they're going with like it's like when Bendis did with the Avengers when he was doing the Avengers for Marvel, or even like some of Hickman's ideas of the Avengers of well, Hickman's Avengers was like it was a very systematic team that he put together, like everybody served a purpose. Bendis's Avengers was like everyone's an Avenger, like Spider-Man's an Avenger, Wolverine's
yeah,
an Avenger, and that's kind of what they're going with here with the Justice League, where they're like, yeah, there's not going to be any reserve people anymore. Like it kind of lessened the impact of Booster finally becoming part of the team because he's been trying to become part of the team for so long because he comes from the future and he knows that he should be part of the team and all that. But it kind of lessens that impact as a result of like, you know, it being special when everybody's part of the Justice League, right? But it was kind of cool seeing all these new these new versions of the heroes show up here, and I'm looking forward to the books. We'll see what happens. But you're right, this was kind of just a lot of setup, I would say, if anything, right? We'll see if it
yeah.
actually it's actually good or not. I don't know. So yeah, so no multiverse, and now the other universe are these like absolute universe superheroes that have come to the forefront now, right? And I just saw an update today from Jeff Lemire online talking about like he showed his script for Absolute Flash #6, so he's already well in advance pumping out the scripts, I guess, to whoever artist is working on it. So he's kind of like, yeah, check out the few new books that are going to be coming out. Mine's going to be coming out somewhere down the line. So like they do have plans. It looks like for whatever they're doing, right? And if I'd rather them slow roll these things out as opposed to like flooding the market like an X-Men thing where it's just like
Yeah.
here's 30 titles, right? So I would rather them slow roll them out over the next few months. We'll see what happens. What'd you give this?
I got a 3.75 too. I was excited reading it. It looked good, but once again, the story wasn't the greatest.
I'll give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4 for the art. So next up, Venom War #3, Chris.
Oh yeah, I just read this one online. Once again, I regret not buying into this. I thought this Venom War would be baloney, and it just seems good. I'm surprised I'm not hearing more about this. Maybe I'm the only person that likes this thing, but there's just so many moments that shock me in this here. I think what you have Dylan. No, not Dylan. Who's Eddie Brock? Somehow he's kind of separated from his symbiote or whatever, and he's having a little talk with Dylan Brock now, and Dylan Brock's got two symbiotes on him to kind of because they're having a confrontation with all of them, and that there's some like I forget that there's some symbiote there that had something to do with Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom left some sort of pass key in there or something when the time was right.
Yeah,
He'd be like a sleeper agent and activated. So even just kind of having a bit of Doom thrown into the mix
yeah,
was great. And then when Dylan or Eddie Brock gets blown away, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And then especially having those commentators, I don't think he's getting up from that. I thought, and knowing that there's going to be a new Venom, I thought, well, maybe they're actually really killing him here.
yeah,
That doesn't seem to be the case, of course. But while you're reading that, this is all still floating through my head. And then you have some other symbiote on the other side, and it's kind of just mumbling words. And supposedly Kang's put some freaking ideas into his head, through the multiverse. So they're running around. And then there's stuff with Spider-Man at the end where, you know, you got him talking with Venom, like the actual symbiote, and he's got to send him out there, and then he freaking, he feels bad that he has to give up this symbiote. And I was kind of wondering what's going on with there because I know they got the King in Black and Spider-Man, whatever, Venom War 3, and then he sends them off to there, and they both become freaking Venom and whatever Dylan's called. And I thought it was great stuff.
Yeah, so what is it? They're like sharing the venom at the end. They're
I guess, yeah.
symbiote. It seems like, yeah, because they're like we are venom. Well, I know they already talk like that, but it seems like, yeah. It's so sorry. So you're more up to date on this series than I am. So I read this too. I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. I feel like a lot of this shit would only work in a Venom comic. Like they're just throwing these crazy ideas at the wall and trying to see what sticks. But it is a lot of fun. But so Eddie, son Dylan, there, he's now the King in Black, right? Is
No,
that
he's that's like some,
so?
I
What?
don't know what they call him. Like it was
So
supposed to be a big character that was revealed, but it's not a King in Black.
so is this not Dylan and Eddie at the end here? Who is this here? Because he looks
Yeah,
like the King in
that's
Black.
Eddie.
Okay, so
Eddie's
why does he look
he's
like the
in the Venom suit, and then that Dylan, I forget what they call him, but it's not a King in Black.
Okay, because he looks like the King in Black. That's
Yeah,
what I was kind of no, like he kind of looks like. I know he's got his hair. I know it's different, but like that's what it kind of reminded me of the look that they're going for there
yeah.
somewhat. So okay, so that has not. Yeah, because I was a little confused by some things, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it's fun. There's some fun stuff going on there. I really like seeing anti-venom Flash Thompson show up, who kind of has that
Yeah.
serum that he can basically cure people with his anti-venom after they get
Yeah,
attacked.
and it's like the zombie story running in the background. That's pretty good. And there's the Meridian story running in the background. That's all got to come to a head too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm having fun with it. I have no I like I said, I wasn't reading Venom prior to this, but I figured I'd jump in and I'm enjoying it. I think it's fine. Yeah. What'd
Yeah,
you give
this didn't
this?
need to be Venom or a separate event though. This should have been all just in Venom. I friggin' went through like 20 issues of baloney before this, and for it to come out now and it's a separate series, I feel like I've been freaking had.
Yeah. And because you didn't buy into that
Yeah,
either,
and I didn't
right?
buy any of this because it's been so it's been trash. But anyway, I give this a 4. I loved it.
I give this 3.75. I had fun with it. Next up, Chris's favorite book of the year, Venom War, Spider-Man number 3.
It's just,
He's buying it now. I mean, pull it out.
this is good stuff.
Oh, now
Even though this was just more of a what if issue.
you keep right around now, hey Chris. You're like now you're embracing it. Before you're like, I hate that I like this book. Like,
Well, I still hate the same read. Like this, once again, this should have been like for this should be all an Amazing Spider-Man because they're like they're dying for stories over there, and it seems like I don't know. We can talk about Amazing Spider-Man another time, but it sounds like they're just treading water there until they can find a new artist. So why don't they might as well just put this in Amazing Spider-Man? They can pause whatever baloney story they got going on while this is happening. But anyways, that's another aside, let's say. So this one here, you got Spider-Man. He still has the Venom suit, and then he meets up with what do they call this guy? That symbiote. What's the word they use for it? The eventuality. That's what they call him. So basically, it's almost like a watcher type person says, "This is what will happen," and
yeah,
if Spider-Man were to keep the Venom suit, and he turns out to be a King in Black, he lives forever, and he ends up that Mary Jane beats that arachniote, and both him and Mary Jane end up kind of basically ruling the universe. And there's a whole team of Avengers that are down the road that are put together to stop them because I think once Mary Jane dies, and then there's another symbiote out there that's his daughter. She sort of goes missing, and then Peter Parker goes off the rails, and I guess he's rules the universe. I guess with more of an iron hand. The only part I didn't like is how they're I just feel like they're making Peter Parker a bad guy all the time. Like it's almost like getting that Reed Richards things. Wherever he goes to, he's always so smart. He ends up being the worst person ever. That's the only part I didn't like. But I did like, even just a hint of him and Mary Jane from this kind of ended up being together, and that was good stuff. And then at the end, there's one of the heroes that was like the Arachno symbiote or whatever. Because Peter Parker couldn't find his daughter, and of course that the last hero was his daughter, and the reason he couldn't find her because that symbiote was disconnected from the hive, and it's a sad moment. But otherwise, then it goes in. Then it just kind of brings you back to the story where he's about to give up his Venom suit, or he's about to give up Venom to Eddie Brock and Dylan Brock. So it was, there was a good what if story that wasn't called a what if story, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, I liked it as well. Again, likewise, similar to Venom. It's just crazy what's going on in this book. I don't know if I'm understanding everything, but I'm having a fun time reading it. And yeah, I even enjoyed the Greg Land pinup art that's in this series because, like, essentially every issue, he's not working with panels in this thing, man. Like every page is like a pinup, like scene, like a full splash page or a
Yeah,
double page splash page, and there's very little pages that have like actual like few moments. It's just a lot of people looking cool, showing up, fighting, and there's something
yeah,
crazy happening. So the art matches the tone, I feel like, of the bombasticness of this story, let's say, and you know what? It works. It works. I'm buying what they're selling here, although I'm not buying it, but I am reading it. but
you're
that's
picking up what they're putting down.
yeah, it's like popcorn movie kinda action type of shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's entertaining, it's trashy, I know it is, but I have fun with it, and I'm having fun with it, so, yeah, I would compare it to that, like, it's like a Fast and the Furious type of movie or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's kinda like, you're gonna get some cheesy lines, you're gonna get some stupid action, but, you're gonna have a good time, reading it, so, yeah.
yeah. Like this is what comics should be, not canon building like this freaking absolute power and this what that all in special. We gotta explain everything here because we're starting some new universe. Just freaking drop in the universe. Everybody will figure it out sooner or later.
Yeah. So what'd you give this?
I'm giving this a 4 too. I like that.
I'll go 3.75 again on this one. All right, Chris. Got a couple of books here you read. First up, we got Storm number 1.
Yeah, I just kind of read this one online just to see what it's all about. I thought the art was great. The story's kind of wacky. Storm seems to be running for a seat in the Senate or something, or running for government. Somehow, she's kind of eluded the mutant hate. I think she saved a town that they talk about, and she's also built some sort of sanctuary too. And the sanctuary comes under attack. And the sanctuary isn't just like like some little zoo on the ground. It's some giant floating, I don't know, refuge or something. I don't
Uh,
know what that's all about.
can I just say something? The art
Yeah.
is beautiful
Oh
in
yeah.
this book. This Lucas Wernick, I didn't notice he was the artist on this. Really till now, even when I was putting the art together, but I was like, wow, this is a good looking fucking book. I didn't read this week, but he was one of the artists I think that worked on some of the X-Men stuff for Hickman. I think especially like the gala issues that they did. I
Yeah.
think he did a bunch of the design work for a bunch of the characters, like the outfits and stuff like that. I feel like, and yeah,
Yeah.
this book looks great. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you were going to
Yeah.
talk
And
about it
like,
as well, but wow.
and even just like the panels, like you passed over a few in the beginning where you just kind of see Storm, like, in the past, present, and future. And then they show her the way she's looking now. You have all the kind of the iterations of Storm. So it is a great looking comic. Can't say anything about that. And if you're a big Storm fan, this is right up your alley. I don't mind Storm, but this would definitely get me back into looking or to reading some Storm.
Yeah,
But with all the X books that's coming out,
yeah.
it's just I think this might be one of the better ones. But I just can't pick it up if I wanted to.
No, I'm disappointed to hear that because I didn't give this a shot because, like, I'm not the hugest Storm fan. I don't mind her, but to your point, they're coming out with books for everybody, like miniseries, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
okay, well, I got to pick up the ones or that I'm interested in that sense. I didn't think I was gonna be as interested in this, but it looks great, and you're telling me it's good. Damn it! Like now, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't pick
well,
this.
it's okay to give it a quick read. Like
Yeah,
the story with her trying to run for senator, or I don't know, a governor seat, whatever. It's gonna be kind of crazy, but it doesn't look like. And then I don't know, for whatever reason, I think at the end she takes off and goes to space too. So The only thing I wish he was more part of a team. Even if this was going to be a Storm book, they should still stick in a few. Almost have a team there around her, or at least have some side characters to kind of help build up.
Yeah. I don't know about all these solo books are going to be doing these mini series. Like I'm picking up all the ones of all the ex women that I like and all that, but I
Yeah,
have them pre-ordered. A lot of it's just based off of, like you said,
good covers. Yeah,
the covers. Yeah, but listen, like you got all the banger artists in the game right now doing covers for these books, and so it's I got a couple of them. Magic, I feel like I'm picking up like 3 different covers of this book when it comes out, man. Like it's
yeah,
crazy. So like you said, and then if it comes out and it's like gonna be a crappy comic, I mean, at least I'll have the covers out of it. But
yeah.
uh,
But if this dialogue or even the Storm, if it's just them by themselves, like even the Jean Grey or the Phoenix one, it's her by herself floating out in space.
yeah, I know.
I guess you've got some whatever cosmic villains, but at least throw in a few of the X-Men. Now it doesn't have to be an X-Men book, but you can get some of the popular X-Men that they have good chemistry with. Why don't you throw Bishop in there for some reason? I don't know where he's going to come from,
Yeah,
or just somebody.
yeah,
Even in the Psylocke one, you throw Cable in there. Maybe it might not be a Cable comic, but freaking get him
right,
in there.
right. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. That's better than average. That art too was good.
Yeah, looks great. Next up we got Spawn 357.
Let's see. I have this issue here. Once again, I just kind of gave this a quick read. I think there's stuff with the vampires or something. I think the vampires had a whole bunch of these demons and they just ran out of them. And Spawn is trying to make a deal with somebody here. But once again, these stories. This is if Venom and Spider Man is like Fast and the Furious. This is just bubble gum. It just tastes good for the 10 seconds that you're chewing it, and once the sugar's gone, it's gone, and I got to get rid of it. But don't worry, there's another piece of gum coming. And it's not expensive either. So this art is great. The whatever's going on in there, it's just a crazy world. I still haven't really clued into what's happening in the Spawn world. I forget who this girl was. She seems to be a big character, and just once again, this art is just top notch. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think she's pretending to be somebody. She turns out to be somebody at the end there.
I think this is Brett Booth, I think, on art on this one, I think, which is like,
Yeah,
he's pure out of the 90s as well. So the fact that he's doing Spawn here, it's kind of makes sense, honestly.
yeah.
It's
There's no
he's
handcuffs on him here. There's nobody telling him, hey, we gotta do it this way. They're like, yeah, you do what you do, and he does. And yeah, I give it a 3.75.
okay. And then Savage Dragon 272. Always interested to hear when you just jump on this and check out an issue.
This is these are the comics I seem to like. These are like throwbacks to the '90s, where Eric Larson, same idea here. He's
Well, he's been doing it since the 90s, right? Like
yeah, but this is what happens when you're not I guess handcuffed or tied back by other agendas or I don't know what. But this is more like a satirical comic, I guess. But the art
yeah,
is just freaking top notch. I think
yeah,
he's got some wife here or something, and there's some banter between them, but her not wearing her underwear and stuff like that. I don't know if you call it satirical, and that's how you get away with it or not. But it's just a fun read. It just reminds you what good comics are about. It's not dark, it's not gloomy. I don't know they're playing with that Mickey Mouse stuff now that Mickey Mouse is public domain, so that's always fun to see. And I don't know if I'd be buying this stuff, but if I saw these in dollar bins, I might just start picking some of these up just because they're fun reads. Wherever you get them.
yeah. They've been releasing this series now, and like those oversized hardcovers that I really enjoy. But the problem is they're only putting like 20 issues per hardcover, and they're on issue 272 here. So
Yeah,
it's gonna take me like 10 years for them to ever release this whole series like that. But I think 2 hardcovers have come out so far, and I've read both of them, and I love them. And this is the 90s stuff that I'm reading there.
yeah,
This is a fun comic. And like you said, Eric Larson, he's actually one of my uh other than probably McFarlane back then, he's my favorite artist that came with the Image guys, like over to it, like the Marvel guys over to Image. I like his stuff a lot. So yeah, it's fun to see him just do all these fun stuff, it seems like, in this series. And like you said, it's not like he can afford to do that because it's like this is his series. This is the only thing
Yeah,
he
I know. It's too bad it's doing so well. I wish it wasn't doing so well because then you'd have to kind of come back to either Marvel or DC to get a good paycheck. But
Mhm.
sounds like he's doing pretty well with all this stuff. So good for him, but bad for us.
He's still eating off of his checks from the 90s, man.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. Anyways, what'd you give this?
yeah, I'll give it a 3.75. It's a fun read.
Cool, cool. All right, next up we got Hyde Street #1, the newest book from Jeff Johns' label there, Ghost Machine. And this one's Jeff Johns and Ivan Reyes. I don't ever know how to say his name, but he's a frequent collaborator with Jeff Johns when he was working at DC more often there. And yeah, he did lots of things with Jeff Johns, Justice League, Aquaman. Like he did a lot of books that I really like with Jeff Johns. And I wasn't too excited about this book, Chris, when they got the preview book where it kind of gave you a little bit of previews of all these new series that Ghost
Yeah.
Machine was going to be bringing out. But I gotta tell you, I picked this up. I don't know if it's also October or like it's kind of more in the spooky kind of vein in terms of like the content of this. But it was pretty fun. I did like this book, and I think it's been getting good word of mouth. So yeah, I mean, I wish them the best with this. I just think they're doing too many series, to be honest, out of this Ghost Machine. But the fact that the books are coming out and he has a bunch of creators working on them, even other than himself, when there's other people he's bringing in that are going to be writing some of these books. Maybe he's got a good thing going here. I mean, obviously he's an industry vet. He's been around a long time. He knows what he's doing, but I wasn't too sure about this one, Chris, but this one kind of was cool. It kind of just set up this whole idea of like, yeah, this street, this block or whatever, weird stuff happens on it. Weird people hang out there, and you're kind of just feeling it out this issue and kind of
Yeah.
being exposed to the world and learning about the world, and they're slowly bringing in characters and you're kind of learning about what goes on there, but not in a way where it felt like a little too much all at once, like we just got in all in special. Which is very literal in the sense that it's really all in. Let's tell you everything about what's gonna happen here. But this was kind of like easing you in slowly, kind of, which I kind of appreciated. And Ivan Reese art was good. And there's some interesting stuff going on here, man. I liked it. There was one new character that they introduced in it. This guy with the X-ray spec glasses, and he's this guy who talks about like when he was working like selling all that shit to kids in the back of comic books, all this like crappy stuff like sea
Yeah.
monkeys and like and x-ray glasses that don't actually work, and like his whole persona now is like he walks around with these glasses. So I thought that part was my favorite bit of the issue, actually, was when they kind of described that and how we all remember that shit in those comics from back in the day that had all that stuff, and they show him back in 1966 working for a company that's hawking all that crap out to folks. So that was kind of a fun scene as well. So yeah, I like this. I thought it was a good first issue. I might actually continue checking this out, and which is weird just because I was not interested in the preview that they gave of this book originally. So yeah, good stuff. I really like.
Also in the same vein of the Ghost Machine
Yeah.
imprint, that Red Coat. I've heard a lot of good things about the latest issue.
Yeah, and that's something I dropped off after the first couple of issues. So maybe it's
Yeah,
worth
like I've heard it's kind of it's found its stride maybe.
going back and checking it out. Yeah, I'm happy to see that these books seem to be all pretty good. And from what I've been hearing from folks, like same with Rook Exodus, I haven't kept up with that, but I'm hearing a lot of people liking these books. So yeah, it's good to hear. I might have to go back and catch up on some of these because Geiger's the only one I stuck with. And I dropped off Red Coat and Rook Exodus, but this is a good start to this book, which I didn't seem interested in at all. So yeah, maybe there's some more good stuff there. I might have to go back and catch up on some of those. So I give this a 4 out of 5. Hyde Street #1. It was good issue. And then I guess keeping up with it's October time. We got Creature Commandos #1. Of course, they also mentioned that this is going to be an animated film, I think, coming out of DC. James Gunn announced all the new movies that they have planned for the next few years. I think this is going to be one of the first coming out, maybe even before Superman. I don't know. But I like the Creature Commandos, and I like Frankenstein. They did a series called Frankenstein Agent of Shade, where he's like a shield agent almost, but it's like for an organization that deals with like the weird situation, like cases, let's say, in the DC universe. And I really like that came out years ago. So he kind of usually leads this Creature Commandos team, and it is a concept that I think they did in like Weird War Tales comics back in the day in the 60s. Like DC used to do all these like war comics things back then, and this was, they would also do like weird kind of like haunted tank and stuff like that, where they put like a supernatural element with it. And that's kind of what Creature Commandos is. It's like, Frankenstein's monster, and yeah, the werewolf, and Frankenstein, like a Bride of Frankenstein. And then there's this guy called Valcoro, who's like this big bat creature guy. So as much as I like that concept, I thought this issue was just okay. I don't know. It was good at times, but then other times I felt like, I don't know, this story wasn't moving. Like, this is kind of the getting the band together issue. No one really knows each other in this. I just wish that this was already established in this miniseries, that this team exists instead of them. And you know how much I like the getting the band together concept, but at the same time, I just felt like this moved way too slow for a 6-issue miniseries. And I kind of really just wanted to see this team formed and going out on some missions. So I was a little disappointed by, let's say, the pacing and the direction of this story so far. The art was fine. It was good in some spots, not so good in other spots. And I'm not familiar with the writer, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this or not. I didn't feel like I had to read the next issue by the end of it, so I'll say that much. But it was okay. I give this a 3.25 out of 5 this week. Not bad, but I've read better with these characters. Oh yeah, and that was the other thing too. At the end of it, they kind of brought in Brainiac, and I was hoping that they kind of had this off to the side as a part of the DC universe and not like involved with the DC universe as much as like it showed like by the end of this issue with Brainiac coming into the mix. I kind of had hoped like they didn't involve any big characters and they kind of were just able to go off and do their
Yeah.
thing. And you know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to have like a Superman villain for it to
Yeah,
be.
not to be a metropolis. They're out in the middle of, out in the mountains, kind of freaking where.
Yeah, like I get it. They're trying to include it into the DC universe proper, but I just felt like they didn't have to do that on the first issue like they did, where it's just like, oh, this is going to be the big bad of the miniseries. That also made me not interested in it. I was like, oh, Brainiac. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna not read the rest of that. Next up, we got Justice Society of America 12. This is the last issue. Speaking of Jeff Johns, of any announced books that he's been doing at DC. This took him like 2 years to put out, as he's been doing stuff over at Image with Ghost Machine. There's 12 issues. I don't know what all the delays were for, but I don't know if he's truly done with DC after being like one of their main guys for forever. But yeah, they have no other books announced with him right now. And with this new direction of books they've announced, he's not in the slate, the bunch of creators' names they've mentioned so far. So maybe he's just going to go off and do his creator own thing with Ghost Machine. I didn't, this series, I've read the whole thing and talked about it on the show. It was okay. This wasn't his best moment, I feel like, for DC. And he's done so many great JSA and Justice League stories over the years. But the way this ended, I really, really loved this last issue. He did stick the landing with this last issue because he brought it back to the character he loves most, Stargirl. That's actually, he based the character off of his sister who died in a plane crash actually years ago. And he created this comic and kind of dedicated this character and dedicated it to his sister. And in the miniseries that he did a new Stargirl miniseries that led into this JSA book. So it felt only right that he ended this issue with her kind of summing up what had happened with the Justice Society and how she's kind of doing in her own life. And I love his Stargirl. He did a Stargirl series like years ago. I really, really enjoyed that. So just seeing her end off the issue, and then he even had the dedication again to his sister at the end of this issue, I really, really liked that. So as much as a series I felt like wasn't his best, I liked how he ended it. And yeah, and you got all these double page spreads in this issue where she's just kind of self-narrating stuff, and of all these great artists that worked on the series with him. So it really worked. Like it was honestly almost worth it just to get this issue at the end, reading this series, which I thought was just okay. But yeah, so I'm happy to see that he was able to bring it back to that, because obviously it's something that matters to him because he based the character on his sister. So good stuff. I really like this issue. I give this a 4 out of 5. And the series itself, this JSA, Yeah, maybe 3.25, 3.5, but I thought it ended wonderfully. So there you go. He had to get me right in my feelings there, Chris, right at the end. I was like, oh, that's nice. He's dedicating it to his sister. So good
Nice.
stuff.
I got a question for you though. But talk about some artists or some writers that have kind of gone away. What's Sean Murphy doing? I haven't heard anything about this guy in the longest time.
Well, no,
Is he,
he did that Zorro book. I mean,
yeah, that Zorro book was months ago. He should have something in the freaking pipeline.
they haven't announced anything. Well, the last thing he talked about that he's doing is the Justice League, the White Knight, like the universe that he does with the Batman stuff. He's supposed to be doing his Justice League, but I
Okay,
think
I
he's
hope he's
just been
working on that. That'd be freaking sweet.
that's what last I heard. That's what he's been doing. I think he's just been working behind the scenes doing that, right? So I'm sure they'll be announcing that at some point. But that guy is like a top artist now, so maybe he's kind of just trying to get them to cut the check or something for him to do it,
But
right?
even still, I haven't heard anything. He's been sort of off the board for a while.
I know he did that 4 issues was for Zorro for a new publisher. And,
Yeah,
and that's the last thing I think we feel like we've seen him do. Yeah, you're right. He's for a high profile creator. You feel like he should be doing something at all times. Yeah, I know. So, yeah, we'll see. Last I heard, he's working on the Justice League book though. So I hope that it comes to fruition. Next up, we got Plastic Man No More number 2. He's melting away
yeah,
here.
black label there.
What'd you think, Chris?
This is okay. It's still hitting the spots or hitting the marks or whatever you want to call it. Just with the stuff with Plastic Man and Metallo there, I guess in the beginning they have kind of some words they don't seem to get along too well. It's just kind of funny, just kind of seeing Plastic Man, when he's ever interacting with the Justice League, how they always kind of blow him off. Well, you
Yeah,
never see, Batman or Superman sort of acting like that. It's kind of maybe this is all the way he perceives it, and
yeah,
there's nothing like that going
I
on.
think the same thing. Yeah,
And then whatever his plan is to save himself is to blow himself up, and he needs uranium. So I guess a lot of this issue is him, first of all, trying to, I guess, find out where the uranium man is, the metal man, and he cons on all the metal men to help rescue this uranium guy. And suppose this uranium guy is a jerk, and
yeah,
then
that's my favorite part. They save him, and then he's just like, "Yep, still an asshole as always," or whatever. Like,
yeah, and then they got him whatever he's telling his plan to that with that executive at the rubber company or something that Detective Chimp sent him to. And, that person's like, I didn't say any of this stuff. I didn't tell you to go build a nuclear bomb and blow it up. This is all hypothetical stuff. He's going, I hear what you're saying. I know what's going on here. I got a plan. So it was a good read. I enjoyed reading it, and I think I think this was a better issue, or it did build upon the first
yeah,
issue.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I enjoyed this. I mean, just describing what's going on in this book, it's a weird book, man. Yeah, but yeah, that was my favorite part though, is the part where the metal men save uranium and then he's just a dick. Like, and they're like, I don't even know why he bothered saving you. And just like the fact I do love how it feels like his interpretation as the narrator of how he's perceived does seem not to be the case, but as the reader, you got to kind of take it as face
Yeah,
value. But I do like how they're not really addressing that, and it's such a skewed kind of perception of of how he's how he's perceived by the league. And meanwhile he's like literally melting away. No one seems to care. So
yeah.
and like
With that arm and his arm tied up in that plastic bag that was
colostomy bag.
melting.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
it's weird, man. It's out there. But I like it. I really dig it. I think this is the only type of like this could only exist in like a Black Label Plastic Man book.
Yeah.
This story, because like where are you gonna get this anywhere else? So yeah, no, I could tell now. I really enjoyed this, obviously, because yeah, it's just. And then yeah, it looks like they killed the Metal Men at the end of this issue, so that's not good. So,
Basically, that's what the guy says. That was supposed to happen, was it, or something?
he's like, they're not dead, are they? They fell into a vat.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you said nobody's gonna get hurt.
I know. It's like, who is this fucking dummy that he brings? Like, it's from somebody from when he was a crook days, right? Like
Yeah.
his buddy there. So yeah, that it's just brutal. Oh man. All right. What'd you give that?
Yeah, I give it a 4. It's a good read.
Yeah. Yeah. I might even go 4.25. That was good stuff. All right. Next up, Batman 153. I got this Halloween variant here by Kelly Jones, kind of showing kids
Oh,
dressed up in costumes. Yeah, I really like this one. The next one is also one of these Halloween variants that I didn't see the cover for. And unfortunately, that one is not as good. So just brace yourself. This one's good. The other one, not so much that he did. So
yeah.
yeah, get ready for that. But what do you think of this?
I guess it's supposed to be the new jumping on point that DC has been selling this whole time. And then, well, I guess we can get into the news because there is some Batman news out there
Yeah,
that just freaking ruins all this stuff. But anyway, just for the story itself, I was getting the feeling that this is going to be a good story here that Chip Zdarsky can finally write. He doesn't have to get, hoodwinked into, after reading this All In Power stuff, it feels like he just built Failsafe for All In for the Absolute Power event.
yeah,
And they made it like we needed some like uber powerful character. This we need to write. And then now I'm kind of looking back at Chip Zdarsky's run. It sounds like they told him what to write, and he did the best of what he could. And I had a feeling that this might be a story that that came from him. I kind of liked all this stuff. There was that new whatever that Captain Commander or Captain Star.
yeah.
He seemed like a crazy character there. I kind of like when he showed up and that other guy's running away, and then he pulls out his gun and just go, "Don't worry, I got this one, Batman." Boom, boom, and he blows out his knees. And there's some nods to the Court of the Owls. I haven't read much of them, but I've heard they're a powerful group, and they're not to be used lightly. So I'm hoping for a good arc here. But a lot of this sort of the wind has been taken out of my sails with the new news.
Well, I mean, it's not confirmed, but usually they're pretty spot on, bleeding cool when they announce things, and we'll get to that news article later. But it's pretty much all but confirmed, I'm sure. but,
Yeah,
but no, you make a good point. You make a good point. I didn't look at it that way in terms of the editorial interference that may have occurred or driven this direction for the book, and I, like yourself, have enjoyed majority of what Zdarsky has done on the title, and if that's all for nothing, and we're not going to get a satisfying conclusion here. I mean, he's still introducing new characters here, and like you said, I would like to see how this plays out. But if in a few months we're going to shift and bring in a big all-star creative team just to derail everything he did, then
yeah.
yeah, it's that will be disappointing. I agree. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Unless it's like one of those things where they're gonna just stick them around and shift them off for a few issues. I don't know,
I
but
got some theories of maybe what, or at least some hypotheses we
okay.
could
Do you
put
want?
out there. We'll talk about later on.
Sure, sure. But I mean, yeah, that character kind of reminded me of. I mean, yeah, he's a very anti-Batman villain, or well, he thinks
Reminded me of Nemesis.
well, I was gonna say he's masquerading himself as a hero, but he uses guns, which is like the number one thing Batman does not agree with. It's almost like reminded me of what's his name? The guy from like Daredevil, Nuke, the one with the flag on his head,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
or like that Frank Miller character, or like almost like a Punisher, almost sort of, but not really, because this guy actually thinks he's a hero. Punisher doesn't think he's a hero. This guy
Oh yeah.
is.
What was the big cliffhanger at the end too? Didn't they kind of mention something about his brother? Was
Yes.
there in the last page? It's like, oh, did you then not know
So
about your brother or something?
So again, that lends itself to the idea of this whole reunion of the Hush team because his
Yeah.
brother is Hush, that big secret. Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So it's probably happening. Yeah. Like, cause so his brother is spoilers is who Hush is, the character. He ran around with, have you seen Hush? He's got bandages on his
well,
face.
yeah. There was Hush was just involved in the Catwoman, so that was the actual Hush. I guess you don't read
I
Catwoman.
don't read Catwoman, yeah, but there is Hush is supposed
Yeah.
to be he's someone that looks like him, like he made himself look like Bruce Wayne at a certain
Oh,
point.
interesting.
I don't know, I can't remember if it's his brother or his friend. I think it's his friend, not his brother. This guy
Yeah.
said it's his brother at the end of this issue.
No, it didn't say who is. Like there was a mention about his brother at the end.
Bruce Wayne's.
Yeah. like not saying this commander or whatever Captain Star is his brother or
So
that character.
Hush was like one of his childhood friends, not his brother, but
Yeah,
I'm sure that's what's going on here. If I had to guess, it might lead into a Hush thing because Hush that was done by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. That's who it turns out to be. It's like some childhood friend, I believe.
yeah,
And he basically, after he was revealed to be this character, they brought him back and he had plastic surgery to make himself look like Bruce Wayne, and he was masquerading around as Bruce Wayne. I don't know if you I
no,
think you maybe
no.
even read that one. No, okay. Anyways, but yeah, it's baloney. It's all baloney. But anyways, what'd you give this?
Well, I know, and this story too. It'd be good if this character turned out to be Peacemaker too. This Captain Star. Maybe he got zapped with some of those absolute power, whatever bolts when those powers went back to everybody. But anyways, I thought it was good. I liked it. 4.
Yeah, 3.75 for me. I liked it, but yeah, I don't know if I was gonna give it a 4. Next up, we got Birds of Prey 14. Okay, brace yourself. This one's not as good. He just doesn't draw kids, I feel like, very well. I'm just like, it's kind of a cool aesthetic still, but yeah, I didn't like this cover as much as the Batman one. I'll say that much. Kind of some of the kids look kind of goofy on that cover to me. But anyways, what do you think of this?
I might have to see some of the artwork. I don't think this left a great impression on me. I'm happy that they're out of their
Yes.
whatever mystic world that they were going to. So I was kind of interested in this new arc. And who was that person? Yeah, it started out pretty interesting. I forget who she is. Oh, that's
Cassandra
they're
Cain.
sending somebody in like undercover, right?
Yeah, it's Cassandra. She's going in undercover and trying to infiltrate this spot here at the start of this issue. So
Yeah.
I liked it actually. I quite liked the intro to that for this issue. And then they're working with Nubia there from Wonder Woman Island there.
Yeah, so I think there's some good things here. This might need a bit of time to breathe. I'm not buying it, so
How about this training
I'm
session?
happy to go along with the ride.
I like this training session scene too with Big Barda. She was
Yeah.
fighting the new recruits there as the new people in the Birds of Prey here that they brought in. They're trying to train and fight Big Barda there. And I thought that was
And after seeing that backup story and was it Batman or something where they had the birds of prey, and you come back to this, it's like, oh, come on. You could have that kind of art with this story or this thing. This would be all classics, but
oh, I like the artist on this one. I
I
like
like it too. But you know, I like a Big Mac, but if you have a steak's pretty good too.
But yeah, basically they reveal that they got all these people like hooked up and doing experiments on them here at the end of this first issue of the new arc. I do think this is a step in a better direction to your point though. I
Yeah,
like this issue a lot more than I have the last few issues. So yeah, I'm hoping that they can do an interesting story here. What'd you give this?
I'll give this one a 3.5, but I am looking forward to more.
I'll give it a 3.75 out of 5. Next up, we got the Deviant number 8. One more issue to go for this series.
Oof, wacky stuff here. There's still another
Yeah.
crazy business that's going on in here, and now I think they think the guy they have arrested and his boyfriend might both be serial killers.
Yes.
And I think then aren't they at a bar or something near the end? I don't know. I don't want to skip over all this stuff here because all the stuff in the middle is all good reading, good storytelling, and the way that we work in this story out, and just crazy pages like this. Like, what the heck is that?
My one fear is that we're going to get to the next issue and he's not going to wrap it up and he's going to be like, oh, there's going to be another series. I swear if he does that, I'm going to be pissed off because this has been a great series and we're leading to, it seems like an interesting conclusion. I genuinely, my one idea of who the killer was in this is that it's that cop that took down the original killer, who he said was the original killer from all those years ago. The cop who beat the shit out of that other guy
Yeah,
and put him in jail. If I had to guess, it's him because I don't know who else it could be in this story, quite frankly. Like, I don't think it's the detective that's been investigating them. I don't think it's either of these guys. So who else could it? Because at the end, the boyfriend who's on the outside, not the one that's locked up,
Yeah.
The guy's creeping up to the door of the bar he's in because he's trying to talk to a guy about the information that he's come across that he thinks will help his boyfriend's case that's in jail. So it looks like it's about
But that deviant doesn't come in, like he's just creeping up on the bar, but he hasn't
yeah,
killed anybody yet, right?
no, but he's outside the door of the bar at the
Oh
end of
wow,
it.
maybe he's coming in to collude with them. That could be a swerve.
Maybe, maybe. And they kind of explain what happened in that house that day where
Yeah,
you kind of like didn't know what the hell happened there that day. He explains a version of the story that's his from his POV here in this issue. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to see how this ends because I've been like riveted the whole time. I think it's an
yeah,
interesting story they're telling, and I'm interested to see who this turns out to be because I couldn't tell you. Like it's one of those things where unless it's like somebody that we haven't even been introduced to in the story, which I don't like when they do that either, but
yeah,
I just don't know who it can be, like genuinely, because and sometimes these stories you find out who it is like halfway through, you figure it out. That's not the case here. So I mean, it says to be concluded. I just hope they don't like pull a swerve at the end and be like, oh, the Deviant 2 coming soon. I'll be pissed off. So
well, the worst is even if they do say it's concluded, and then there is a deviant two, and then the deviant
that's
two is
fine.
oh
That's
no,
fine.
but the deviant two says oh the person we thought it wasn't him.
Oh yeah, see that, but see
That
that.
even works.
Well, I don't know, maybe, but I would
Well, yeah,
rather.
that means the conclusion is baloney.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But yeah, that's true. But there's always like copycat killers and shit like that, right? So I just think the
Yeah,
world that they've established here, you could tell other interesting stories in, but you're right. I would rather that not be the case. I
yeah.
just
Like
want them to end it next
I just
issue.
hope this isn't selling so well that they have to put a deviant two out, and when what he thought might be a 12 issue series is like, maybe I can
Well,
squeeze it to 24.
Well, James Tinian, he did the same thing. He did this with Nice House on the Lake. That was a
Yeah,
huge hit for him. Now, I don't know if he always had planned for it to be. Maybe he said that and I just wasn't aware. But that was like a 12 issue maxi series. When it ended, that's when I found out there was going to be a sequel to it, and I was a little pissed off because
yeah,
I thought it was a really solid series that didn't require a sequel, which I guess it doesn't. You can just read that and you don't have to read more. It did end on a good note, but
yeah.
like I just don't feel like sometimes it feels like they're like, oh yeah, maybe I do have more stories here, right? And
Yeah,
I
I
just,
know. I just this one's done. It's got some legs to it, or the numbers are good enough to put out a second,
yeah,
whatever series.
yeah. So we'll see. Anyways, what'd you give this?
Yeah, I give this another 4. I thought it was a good read.
4 out of 5 for sure. Yeah. Next up, we got Nemesis Rogues Gallery #3 from the Millerverse.
Yeah, what can you say about this? This is great stuff all the way through. This, I wasn't too keen on the artist, but this art is great. There's just crazy stuff going in here. The stuff he has with his new sidekick, what he's got him up to, it's just unreal. I think he has him there like with all the ladies of the night, let's say, and then when it's time to go to business, there's that big nod to I guess the Batman TV series almost where he's got to hit the piano and then the stuff opens up. You got the costumes there, and whatever they're on their adventure to freaking steal millions and millions. He's out on a plane. And, I don't know. He's falling in front of and shooting the plane. Just over the top stuff. And then I still don't know what freaking the end was about. Where there's another nemesis or something, and I don't know if one of them's copying the other or what the heck's going on. But I'm still down for this ride. I enjoy reading it, and I love it. I love it when it comes out.
What I think happened is that the Nemesis, this guy was masquerading around as Nemesis. They found out because they took off this guy's arm, and then he says, "Oh yeah, no, he was just putting that suit
Yeah,
on." So that's not Nemesis, but Nemesis is who actually shows up at the end after they think they've taken him down, and he admits that it was him, and it's all part of his plan
no,
or whatever.
yeah,
And at first, I thought maybe Nemesis forced him into a costume and made him go around like that, but that's apparently not the case. So I mean, they just kind of got caught with their pants down here at the end with him running up with the sword. Unfortunately, not to take the wind out of your sails though, but I'm not enjoying this one as much as you are. I like Nemesis a lot. I love the last series. I liked him in Big Game, but the art along with the story being too over the top and ridiculous this time around for me, I don't know. I think it's still decent, but it's definitely not my favorite of his series right now. Like, I really don't like the artist too. That hurts like it for me. I'm glad you liked him in this issue, but I'm not really. This artist ain't doing it for me, right? So that's a big issue for me as well. So, but otherwise, I'm still gonna read it. Like it's entertaining. It's just it's not as good as I feel like his previous installments for me, anyways. But what'd you give this?
I'll give this a 4.
I'll go 3.25 on this one. Next up, Get Fury #6, last issue in this mini series. What'd you think of
Yeah,
this?
this one delivers all the time, like with
Uh,
just wacky, gory scenes. But this one wasn't even so many gory scenes, just some gory lines when when I guess Fury was like just ranting off like about what happened to him.
yeah, they talk about how
Holy
they shit in his
smoke!
eye. They talk about he
Yeah,
talks
he's
about
like,
as he was a prisoner that they shit and piss in his eye
yeah,
and
you know what they did to me? They made me eat my shit.
yeah,
They put the shit in my eye, and
yeah,
then whatever they told me, they ran that thing up his hand with a million volts, and just having his face all beat up there while he's saying this, and then freaking Frank Cass is like, "You finished, ready? Okay, let's go. We gotta go."
yeah. He's like, get it together, but you know,
Yeah, like that is classic stuff there.
uh,
And other than that, it's I had to read this a couple times because I was confused. Those people that were attacking him, I guess one of the guys got a call and you had to flip the script or something because he ended up freaking trying to ends up shooting his kill team to
yeah,
save them.
yeah.
And then what if they take him back and you kind of see how they go. I didn't like this thing. You have to read it what's going on anyway. But
Yeah, like, I get why they did it that way, where it was, like, only a transcript, but it felt like almost it was a cop out of, like, the artist didn't have enough time to write it to draw the rest of the issue. I was like, "What the
yeah,
hell?" Yeah. Like, I get it, like, but, it tracks in the sense that, like, this is this story is being told by somebody this whole time, and, like, maybe they're, like, looking up transcripts as well on this shit,
yeah,
but I didn't like that either, I'm with you. Yeah, that I didn't like that part, but
yeah.
otherwise
This guy that's telling the story, I'll find out what his name was throughout the thing. This Watcher type character. I thought he'd have some big reveal at the end, but I don't think so. That's the only thing that was down for me.
yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a great story, just over the top stuff, and it was just crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it really was a slow burn of a series, but overall, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. Good characterization of these two, both in the war days, and it kind of even the way it ended, where they're like, yeah, they went on from this point and became these people, and they show like the Nick Fury and Punisher that we're kind of more used to, and yeah, like you said, that whole opening scene. Every issue had like one really good
Yeah,
brutal
just
scene in
something.
it
Yeah,
where you could be like, yeah, that was badass that moment. Where and then I feel like the rest of it, he kind of just, moved the story along, but it was always enjoyable to some degree in that sense. Yeah. And now, yeah, Fury's family got killed in this. His daughter and the woman that he had.
from what I understand, it doesn't. He doesn't even know who they were though. Because
No,
wasn't he asking like, who are these people? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about that. And then they sanitize the whole scene.
he claimed that that was his love child kind of thing from
Yeah.
when he was like, which, yeah, that makes sense. But
Well, they did, but he didn't know about them, did he?
that's right. No, but he was also really messed up when he got
Yeah.
out of that situation, right? He didn't seem to be in his like right mind. So, yeah, so we'll see what happens. Well, we saw what happened. They got killed. So, anyways, what'd you give this?
Yeah. It's solid 4, easy.
Same. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, and then in the letter column, Garth Ennis hinted that he's pretty much done with Nick Fury, but he could have a Punisher story kicking around still that he's going to be doing with the
Well, it wouldn't be too
stuff.
bad. It'd be good if he did more of a modern day Punisher story, but
He does. Well, that he's done a bunch of war ones, but it sounds like he might have for this next one an actual modern day one. Yeah. So
like a Punisher story, not a Frank Castle story.
yeah, no, Punisher. That's what he
Right.
said. He said Punisher. So yeah. Because he's kind of he kind of says in the letter column, I've done my trilogy of Nick Fury stories during the war. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything
No.
else with him. But he said, yeah, maybe though another version of Nick Fury, like more like with the Punisher. Yeah, maybe right. That's kind of what he said. So it sounds like he has other ideas. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Because I'm always here for a Garth Ennis Punisher story. And then lastly, we got X-Men #5 and the last of the J. Scott Campbell women covers, I think, is this week here with the
Yeah.
Jean Grey. J. Scott Campbell's style of women that looked like they could eat a sandwich. They could use a sandwich or two. These, I
Hey,
don't know.
maybe the belts are just too tight. You know, they got those trainers on or something.
I don't know. I don't get why he's doing all these tall, skinny women now, where before he used to have ones with like big booty and they're kind of like, bigger. Now it's like you're getting all these like skinnier women here on the covers. I don't know. It's like his style's changing or something, Chris. I don't approve.
Well, I did have to, when I said I thought he was folding him in, I did have some source material to go to. I looked up this book
Oh,
I got a
yeah.
while ago, and yeah, he definitely phoned it in.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I've seen trust me, I've seen a bunch of his covers, right? Like this is not, yeah, I don't know. Like if it's just the fact that that's not what they're just his style is changing or he's just phoning it in, like you said. Yeah, I
No,
think it's
I
more
think
that.
he drew what he drew, and it's all on the computer thing, and they can just edit it to make everything,
Yeah.
I guess,
I,
more less over emphasized. Let's say.
nice. Anyways, what'd you think of this?
I think I like this issue. It's getting some legs here. I did enjoy the Stegman art, but I think I found out what I don't like about the Stegman art is like everybody looks too young. I think,
Hmm.
like even when they have Scott Summers, he doesn't look like he looks like he's like 19 or 20, where he should be like a grizzled veteran or something.
Right.
But otherwise, the art is great. Whatever they got, Psylocke and is that Quentin Queer. They got them going into that guy's head to find out what's going on, and it's kind of a bit of a trippy ride in there. And I guess there's some sort of trap laid in this guy's brain. So it's kind of moving along more in an X-Men type vibe that I prefer. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that Stegman was back on this issue. When we didn't get him last issue, I thought he was done. So that was good to see. And yeah, just a classic, yeah, like Magic School Bus esque going into the mind, you know what I mean? Kind of exploration and them having to deal with their demons that they're kind of currently dealing with right
Yeah.
now, right? So it's not a story that's very original, but it works and it had good art, so I was happy with it. Yeah, so there you go. That's what I have to say on this one. Nothing
Yeah,
bad
I'm
really
kind
to
of
say
interested
about this.
about that. Whoever the Cassandra, is it Cassandra Nova or something, or
That's a
and
sister.
what they're doing with these humans? They're torturing them to basically have people release their X genes or something. So that's moving in the direction that I like.
What'd you give this?
I got a 3.75.
Yeah,
One of my
3.75 out of 5 for
better
this.
issues, or it gives me hope for the future at least.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's gonna do it for the books we wanted to talk about this week that we read, everyone. And Chris, what are you looking forward to checking out next week?
Let's see here. I don't think it's a giant week. Oops, what the heck's going on here? Ooh. Yeah, so next week from Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man 59. Looking forward to that. Ultimates 5, all is good. And this Venom 38. This is freaking the old man Dylan Brock. It's got Doctor Strange in there, but freaking you're missing the best parts of the Venom War. Probably read Fantastic Four 26. Probably read X Force 4. See what's in the Spider-Man black suit and blood. The Sentinels one I'll probably read. I was thinking of picking it up, but everything else has been such garbage I didn't. Again, there's Venom War, Wolverine 2. I was more excited when this first came out. Hopefully this picks up some steam or they do something with it. And let's see. I think that's about it. Yeah, that Marvel Zombies, but that was baloney when I read it, the first one. So unless I'm really bored, I'll read that. Oh, is it Absolute Batman next week?
Sure is. Yep.
I saw some previews. I don't know if you want to spoil that. I know he's got his axe on his chest. But you know what they do with his ears?
No, I didn't see this.
Okay, he's got some with his ears that are pretty cool too.
Okay.
But anyways, I'll probably read this Action Comics. I don't think I got this Gotham by Gaslight the Kryptonian Age, but I'll probably read it. Oh, DC versus Vampires. I think I got a nice variant cover for that.
I
Don't
think I got the same
disagree.
one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Is this the Wonder Woman one?
I believe it is.
Yeah, I got that.
Let's see what's going on with the Image next week. Transformers 13. I might keep that up till 20 at least until then. See what's happening after there. Scarlet. So I think I'm getting that one. I should have picked up Geiger, but I'm reading Geiger. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I get scorched or not. They'll probably throw it in my box. And I think that's about it, unless there's some maybe something from whatever Dark Horse, but that's about all I'm reading.
Yeah, I'm reading Geiger, FF, probably Gotham by Gaslight, Kryptonian Age. There's a few there I read digitally there that I didn't not picking up that I will probably be reading though. But yeah, Absolute Batman #1, that's the big one for me. Amazing Spider-Man 59, getting close to the end there. One more issue to go there. DC versus Vampires, World War V #3, that's been good. Minor Arcana, the Jeff Lemire series that comes out next week, #2. Scarlet, last issue of that. Transformers 13 and Ultimates 5. That's the stuff that I'm picking up physically. And like you mentioned, there's a few other things I will be reading digitally. So yeah, decent sized week, nothing too crazy, but some bangers there for sure. So yeah, looking forward to that. Ultimates has been really good too. Actually, I've been liking that a lot. So all right, Chris, favorite book of the week.
Favorite book of the week. I'm not going to freaking like them, but it's between one that I didn't buy and one that I did buy. I didn't mind the Spider-Man, but I think my favorite was it gave me one of those holy moly moments that I rarely get out of these comics. Even though it turned out to be a bit of a dud, but he is in dire straits there. But that Venom War 3, I loved it.
Venom War 3 was your pick? Okay, and
Yeah,
the close one was this Venom War Spider-Man? Yeah,
yeah.
you're
This
all in on.
wasn't a one issue.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't probably realize till we talked about it, but I guess I got to give it to Plastic Man No More #2. It did it was the weirdest thing. I probably interesting thing that I read this week. I mean, other than this, I was going to probably give it to DC All In Special #1 because of the Wes Craig art, but in terms of the story, it was mostly all set up. So this one was highly effective. I thought some of the moments in this one this week, and when we talked about it, it just made me realize how much I've been enjoying this series. So yeah, I gotta say, Plastic Man No More #2 is my favorite of the week this week. So yeah,
Nice.
good week though, good stuff. All right. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this week, everybody. Make sure to tune in as always every week. We try to put these out before the end of the new comic book week. So, usually by Monday or Tuesday before the new week, when everyone you've read your stuff, hopefully you can tune in and check us out. And make sure you like and subscribe. You check out the playlist here. Almost 150 episodes. Also, I do want to plug right now that uh towards the end of the year, in between like Christmas and New Year's, we usually take a week off because it's usually a smaller week of comics. And we put out our year, basically our what do we call that? The Comic Shop Talk Awards, Chris. So get ready for that. I'm gonna have to send you those categories soon, where we give out many awards for some of our favorite things that we've read this past year. And that's always an interesting conversation because we kind of get to highlight some of the things that really that we enjoyed, and it kind of gives you a good idea of stuff that came out over the year that you may have missed out on. So definitely make sure to check that out. That'll be coming out, like I said, by the end of December, that one will be coming out, but I just wanted to tease it now because always looking forward to that one. That's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Want to talk about the new Batman news or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally forgot because we somewhat talked about it, but we danced around it. All right. In the news for comic books. All right. So let me just pull up the article here. So basically, they announced that Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, who of course did Hush, which is a big deal because Jim Lee, he doesn't really do interiors all too often these days. They're talking about Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb returning to an ongoing Batman comic in 2025, and they're saying that it could be happening in March or April. This is what Bleeding Cool has basically put out an article about, and they could jump on. Well, all it says is that they're reuniting for a new ongoing Batman comic. So it may not be Batman by Chip Zdarsky, but it probably will be. But although I think last time with Hush, yeah, it was in Batman. It wasn't in Detective. It could also be on Detective, right? Maybe that's why. What's his name is just on there for a moment. Taylor there, right? I don't know, but what do you think of this announcement, Chris?
Well, I am looking forward to seeing Jim Lee art, and I hope it is the ongoing Batman. unfortunately, be at the expense of Chip Zdarsky. But if he's like, I don't know what his deal was with DC, but a lot of timing, this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. Wouldn't this be might just might be a pipe dream, but his time would almost end at the same time that that's the Spider-Man ends. And Marvel's got to have their fucking next writer ready for Spider-Man, and they
Right.
just can't announce it. Wouldn't it be nice if maybe their next ASM writer was Chip Zdarsky and kind of letting him go there with his freaking hands free. You don't got to worry about Spider-Man getting stuck in some you know events that he seemed to be hogtied throughout his run with Batman. Whether it was whatever the freaking the sleeping one, the Lazarus pits,
Yeah.
or even the gang war that I'm sure he did want to do.
Yeah.
I think that really hijacked a lot of any momentum. If you compare this run to his Daredevil run, Daredevil, he seemed to have, like carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. And he did some great things on that run.
I agree. I don't want this to kind of sour the feelings on what people have towards Chip Zdarsky's run, and and that's interesting, Chris. That is an interesting theory. I would not mind seeing him on Spider-Man at all. Like, he has written some Spider-Man. He did have a run of Spider-Man Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man years ago, but that was one of the earliest things that he ended up doing for Marvel at that time. And I think he's got a good voice for him, though. I did enjoy that run, but I feel like he's probably written a lot more comics since then. So if he were to come back and do something like Spider-Man, you can probably get some big profile artists on that book, and we could have
Yeah.
some good stuff there if that were to happen. I've really, the problem is like, listen, Jeff Loeb, he's an okay writer. He's not like a great writer. There's a lot of people actually don't really like his writing, to be honest with you, but he has been connected to a lot of big things. He's
Yeah.
the guy who just wrote that Last Halloween that's coming out right now. And he's worked with a lot of great artists over the years, including Jim Lee for Hush, which is not that great of a story, but it had fucking Jim Lee drawing it. So like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a book that people still pick up, that's in circulation, the trade paperbacks to this day. It's like an essential Batman book for a lot of folks, right? So, and it's actually my favorite period of Jim Lee art, even more so than the X-Men stuff and like the Punisher War Journal stuff that he did in the early 90s for Marvel. It's my favorite of the Jim Lee. Like, I think he was just the best during that period of time. So, I like Jim Lee. He's not like one of my favorite artists, but he's a good artist. So I would like to see him draw some more comics for sure, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited by the news, but you're right. It's kind of, if it's at the expense of Zdarsky's run just kind of getting just shuffled off of the book,
Yeah.
it's kind of disappointing, right? So I mean, that's why, unfortunately, that happens sometimes with comics. Due to editorial interference or who's hot at the moment and whatever.
Yeah. Or whatever the planning that goes on, because seems in DC they have freaking these plans right up that they hijack your arcs, or you can't let a story sort of grow organically. By the time your arc's over, you don't know if it's good or bad or how it's going to be received because it's already done.
Yeah. And it hasn't been confirmed. Like, I think it's more than likely that they are definitely coming. Like, I think that's rumors true that they are going to be on a Batman book. But I think the thing with the article was they don't know if they'd rather them just launch like a new Batman #1, or if he's just going to take over with the numbering, or if it's going to be its own thing, right? But by the
Yeah.
sounds of it, it doesn't sound too good for Zdarsky, to your point. So I like, I mean, there's so many Batman books out there. It could definitely exist outside of the ongoing series and still do gangbusters in terms of the numbers, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's a Jim Lee Batman book. It's going to do numbers. So I think it's going to be unfair if he were to just come on the title that Zdarsky's doing and take over, and as a result, right? I think that's going to suck. But will I be there reading it? Yes. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say, right? Like, it's not
Why
like,
couldn't they have Zdarsky and freaking Lee going at it? That'd
yeah,
be that'd be something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening, right? I mean, it's Loeb. I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's back on two main Batman titles. It sounds like he's doing the Last Halloween now. He's really just going back to the well. He's going back to
Yeah.
Last Long Halloween, and he's going back to Hush, possibly with Jim Lee again. Who knows, right?
Well, hopefully, he sold Jim Lee a good story, to get him back into draw.
Hush is not that good of a story. I think it's very
Well,
fucking
but even still, if you're gonna get Jim Lee back, you're not gonna come back with, oh, well, Batman loses money again, or
right.
have him, freaking,
Yeah.
they talk about the dirt in the alleyway that somehow grew into you know, fucking the Mudman or something.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear you. They should have a big story if they're gonna be like that. If Jim Lee is gonna come back and draw something, then they should have something for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens, but that's the newest piece of comic news that came out today. And if you guys are not up to date on Zdarsky's run, like Chris was saying, I do think it's worth checking out. No matter what happens from here on out, I think it's been a pretty solid run overall, honestly. And yeah, we've enjoyed more so than we haven't. There's a couple
Yeah.
arcs where it was like, but for the most part, I've really liked it. It's been I think there was only like really only one arc I think like we didn't really like, which was the one where he went back in time or something
Yeah.
like that. He went to like another dimension or something like that. That one was just okay, but then after that, it's kind of it picked right back up. So yeah. Anyways. All right. So that's gonna do it for today's show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. As I mentioned, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.